Hey guys, it's Sean. I know the past few videos have had intros. Not all of them will, but I did want to just come on and intro this video to say thank you so much to everyone who watched us in 2022. I know we only had 3 episodes, but it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the guests. It means a lot to the crew who helped me film these. And I just wanted to also announce some updates that we have a new set. It's hopefully going to be the home of the Fine Cut from now on. We are also going to be trying to do these episodes every week so that we can keep up with the movie news and we can keep up with the newest releases and get the Fine Cut out to you guys every week. And so, again, just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching us in 2022, and hopefully we can bring you a lot more stuff in 2023. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode on SVP's best or favorites of 2022. Thanks. So our first guest for this episode of The Fine Cut is Joe. So Joe, what was your favorite film of 2022?
Gotta go with The Batman.
So why was the Batman your favorite film in 2022?
It had a lot going for it, starting with probably its biggest strength, I would say, is the pacing. Like, it's an almost 3-hour movie, but it really doesn't feel like that at all. Also, yeah, the performances, all of them are great. Characters are great, writing great. I also just like the atmosphere, like, especially like the soundtrack in the beginning. You have like Nirvana. I think it comes back at the end. It just really kind of has that gritty feel to it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, this is probably one of my favorite interpretations of Gotham.
Yeah.
Because it is so kind of like, in even the video games and comics, it's like, it's this gritty town, whereas like, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy was like, oh, look, it's just Chicago. Yeah. Like, so I definitely like, when you brought up the atmosphere, I was like, yeah, I think that's one of the best things going for that film.
And then, yeah, also going off of the soundtrack, just the Batman theme, that was just top notch.
It really is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the performances, I think, are probably one of the best.
Yeah, the Riddler, he was scary in that. Yeah. Like, especially when, I don't know if you can go into spoilers or not here.
Yeah,
like,
this is spoiler free. I'm gonna.
When he's like when he has the one guy on like
not spoiler free.
Yeah. Okay. When he's like on the FaceTime call with the one, I don't know what like local government guy he was, and I don't know, he's just going off. That was, man, it was getting a little spooky there. Did not expect that.
Yeah, I think like that's probably what is at least why this is probably one of my favorite films of 2022 as well, is that like it's really well acted, especially for the Riddler, because the only time Riddler has been on screen in live action, I think, is the Jim Carrey version.
I mean, he was in the Gotham TV show.
I don't consider that. I've never seen it.
Oh, I mean, that was an alright version, but yeah, this one, I guess this is going to be the new definitive version of the character.
Oh, yeah. I think Paul Dano did a fantastic job. Year of Dano, though. So, but yeah. Anything else that you...
I also really kind of liked Batman, just his real dry humor throughout the entire movie. That was kind of funny. What else is there to say? I also just like the camera work as well. I mean, the one shot in particular, it's like near the end, it's like completely black, and then like the only lighting is just the muzzle flashes where they're shooting at him. He's just beating up all those guys in the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh, the fights, and I didn't even talk about the fight scenes, just like in the beginning, and then especially at the end where they're in like the concert arena or something. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I really like that scene, especially how they utilize like the Batman not killing as well. Yeah. Like he knocks them off, but they're connected. I noticed that. And I'm like, okay, that's smart filmmaking, or even just smart design to be like, oh, he's not killing them. He's just knocking them down. But it is really funny to watch in that scene where they're just like hanging, like, you know. But yeah, I think Batman was a really good film, and yeah. Anything else you want to add about it?
Yeah, one more scene I hadn't talked about yet, when he's like interrogating the Riddler and he's arrested, and then I forget what they're talking about, and then Riddler, he starts like, "Oh no, that's not how this was supposed
Oh yeah,
to go."
no.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so Batman's your favorite film of 22?
Yeah, so it had a lot going for it. Not a lot of complaints.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having
this
me on.
episode for our favorite films of 2022. So we'll go to the next guest right now. All right. So my next guest is Reece. So Reece, what was your favorite film of 2022?
My favorite film of 2022 was Nope.
You'll be getting a call from my supervisor asking how my service was.
5 stars, Angel, 5 stars.
Yeah, this is a film kind of
Yeah.
made me say nope a couple times.
What was the biggest thing that made you say nope to this film? Because I have a scene.
Aliens. Aliens.
Yeah.
There's this one scene, if you've seen the movie, you might be quite familiar with it, where there's this place called the Star Lasso Experience.
Yes.
And it seems like quite a good time. You go there, you see a guy in a elegantly dressed out
Stephen Young dressed real
alien-themed
nicely.
suit, which is pretty cool, and then all of a sudden, silence and screaming.
Oh, that even
Silence and screaming don't go together. Those are two opposites.
yeah.
But they do. They do it. They do a thing, and you got silence, and you got screaming, and you got.
Just thinking of that scene is still like, I think that's a big thing that like is a testament to Jordan Peele's filmmaking is that one scene has kept me up at night because of just like, and it's like one of the only actual like horror parts of this horror movie, but like
it's horror.
That's crazy.
I saw something about he wasn't. There are certain parts of this movie where horror is definitely at play, but he was going more for terror.
Yeah.
And terror it's terrifying.
Yeah. You can definitely see the influences that like Jaws had on this.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Like
lurking in the clouds,
exactly.
Going around.
Yeah, and even though Jaws is kind of considered a horror movie, it's not really. So
No. Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't consider it like more like a horror movie, but like more like a thriller.
Yeah, and this is what I think Nope is.
Nope is, yeah, because it's categorized as a horror. And I was asked earlier in the year, they were like, "What's your favorite horror movie?" And I was like, "I want to say Nope, but like, does that count?"
It's not a conventional horror film. It's not like some big dude that's like with a knife coming through. Yeah, it's like
this is aliens. I need a wig. I need the guy. No, aliens.
But anything else that really stood out to you in this film?
The alien.
Just
so so often you get an alien movie like this where they're just they're the big-eyed aliens, stuff like that. This is something new that like I'd never really seen anything like this before. You got this one scene, Daniel Kaluuya, he goes, OJ's like, "What if it's not a ship?" And I'm like,
oh yeah,
what if it's not a ship?
Yeah, the reveal that it's not a ship and it's the actual
That's
alien.
the alien.
That is one of the best twists.
Jaw drops at that. And then you get the aforementioned Star Lasso scene. Jaw drops even further, like a Tom and Jerry to the floor, like.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, watching that in like a dark theater. That was
the surround sound just.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's
insane.
But I will say, even though that was the most terrifying, I did get a lot of laughs in that movie because of like Keke Palmer and
he is so good.
And Daniel Kaluuya in it. It's so, like that's such a that scene's so fun. And just them like the planning to capture the thing with like the Monopoly piece.
Yes,
it's so fun.
I wanted the thimble anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then like there's the weird like I'm not 100% sure if it was going for comedy, but like just the cinematographer going, one, like,
Blind purple people.
just
leader.
saying it.
That song was like a huge part of my childhood. We had like a Halloween CD.
Oh.
It had like all these Halloween songs, and that was one of them. And me and my siblings, we run around the house, flying purple people leader. What?
That's
And
just
he's like,
destroying
flying
food.
purple people.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is strange to me.
Yeah, it is. Nope was
Nope was.
Nope was a great film. Any last comments on Nope?
The one part where they did do a little alien thing, they teased where they're in the barn and OJ's walking along, and then that was one part where I was like, nope.
Yeah.
And then he's in the car later on when he says nope, and I was like,
yeah.
I said it, he said it. It's hey, there it is. It's nope. But yeah, the thing like just pops out from in the barn. It's like, oh hey, there's a thing there. Or when it like stands up. So yeah.
I just also love in that scene when like it ends with just him punching the one kid.
Decks him and he falls. It's like, oh my god, that's a child.
Yeah. Oh man, that
Decked a kid.
Yeah,
That's
Nope
awesome.
is.
Yeah.
Nope was a really good from 2022.
Oh yeah,
So.
that's one that has stuck with me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. I've bought it already as well.
I have as
Blu-ray.
well.
I was gonna bring it in, but I forgot that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. All right.
Watch it later.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. All right, thank you so much for being a guest on this
Thanks
episode.
for having me. This
of
was
course,
great.
Of course. All right, so the next we'll get to the next guest right now. All right, so my next guest is Tayion. What was your favorite film of 2022?
Okay, my favorite film was the movie Not Okay by Quinn Shepard.
So what, are we supposed to feel bad for you?
All right, I have not seen that yet, so you kind of have to sell me on it. But what'd you find? Why was it your favorite of 2022?
So I say just like from that initial watch, the thing that really stood out to me was the fact that the main character, Danny, doesn't really get a desirable ending.
Okay.
You know, it's not necessarily like, I wouldn't say it's like good or bad ending, and it's also not like one of those that's kind of like up to viewer interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole movie kind of takes place about her as like, I don't know, I believe she was like a photo editor at like a newspaper place or something like that, and you know her job was just kind of boring or whatever.
Mm.
So she made up this fake trip to Paris.
Oh,
And-
I've seen the trailer, so yeah, it definitely.
She used her photo editing skills to fool everyone where there was then a bombing in Paris, and then she kind of went along with the whole, you know, like survivor thing.
Yeah.
And she met like a friend who was like a high school student who I believe like her sister died in like gun violence or something.
Oh.
And she was like a big speaker, and like they became like best buds. And then one of her coworkers like kind of leaked the fact that she lied about everything.
Oh, dang! This is not in the. I think the trailer definitely just says like the whole bombing thing, and that's kind of where it leaves you. But I'm very interested now about all this extra stuff that you're saying.
I love the ending so much because it's her friend. I cannot remember her name, but she's doing like a spoken word poem, talking about like how Danny like did that to her, and Danny is in the crowd watching it.
Oh.
So you think that like at the end of the performance she's going to go apologize, but she doesn't. After the performance ends, she leaves, and that's just the end of the movie.
All right. That is definitely a lot of the films like now. It's like you have to have that ending where it's like they either reconcile or something happens that she gets kind of a comeuppance. But that definitely sounds like it's a very neutral ending almost. So
It's kind of refreshing to see like a movie where the unlikable character is unlikable the full way through. Like she never redeems herself. She's always a bad person.
Yeah. Definitely looking at a lot of films, even from this year, a lot of those like bad people movies, they either get redeemed or they, stay bad. But there's always that kind of sense of like, oh, well, I guess they weren't that bad. But this is definitely interesting that you're like, it's kind of just like, no, they're bad. Screw them. Anything else from the film that made it your favorite?
Well, besides like the film itself, I kind of liked like the message that it gave, sorta. Because I feel like it's not new like in media for like the unlikable character to be a man and like stay like this. But I feel like this is one of the first films that I've seen where it was a woman, and I feel like it's kind of like breaking down barriers where now women, it's either that she redeems herself or is like a villain, as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
Whereas like this, she's just a normal everyday person who just isn't a good person.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of like opens up new avenues.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like even I can't think of like a movie off the top of my head, but like definitely like I can see those. It's normally like the guy, if it's a guy that's done something bad, it's like he's bad, I don't like him. But you never see like a woman that's bad. It's like, I mean, like the weird thing that comes to mind is like Mean Girls, is like Regina George at the end. It's like, oh well, I mean, I guess she learned her lesson, but like this, from what I am interpreting of what you're saying,
doesn't.
she just doesn't. Yeah, so that's really interesting. Anything else from Not Okay? Like, I know I can't think of his name, but like I know Zoe Deutsch, I think her
That's
name
the main
is.
character, Danny.
Yeah, she's the main character, but do you know the other guy's
I can't
name?
remember his actor's name, but
Yeah.
I know like he plays the character Colin.
Yeah, like I saw in the trailer, it's like,
She's like in love with him.
yeah, but he's like a weird like e-boy kind of vibe. So
It's kind of like he's like transparent,
Okay.
Like when she finally does get him after like kind of abusing her whole trauma stuff, it's kind of like superficial,
Oh.
Like they finally get together, and then I think it's like the next morning or whatever, he posts something about like him with other girls, and that kind of
Okay.
like, it like hits her because she realizes
no.
that she's not what he wants either, even though she's been chasing him this whole time.
dang, yeah, I'll say this, you definitely sold me on the movie. I definitely am gonna. It's on Hulu, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to go and check that out. It sounds good. So, yeah. Any other last things you want to say about Not Okay?
She's not that good of a photo editor. Like
Really?
she's like, in real world standards, she's like average. She knows the basics, but
Yeah.
she's not that nice for.
That was the first thing that I was like, dang, she was really that good to fool people? But
No.
Just nobody cared about her at her job, so nobody really looked into it,
Oh, okay.
except for the one coworker who hated her, and she found out so easily when she tried.
All right.
All right, then. Well, yeah, thanks for joining me for this segment. Yeah, so next person will appear right now, hopefully. All right, so my next guest is Shane. So Shane, what was your favorite film of 2022?
My favorite film was Tar.
So why was Tar your favorite film of 2022?
Recently I've been getting more into like talkies, I guess. I like a lot of films with dialogue that are very like dialogue heavy, like Tarantino and Aaron Sorkin. But the thing that's interesting about this film is that it's you're sort of watching the story in the peripherals. So you're never shown anything directly with this film. Everything that happens with Lydia Tarr's situation is all off screen. Even her like getting fired, that's off screen.
Oh yeah, that is a really like, when you said like you were getting into like these more like kind of dialogue heavy films, I was like really weird. I was like, are we talking about the same movie here? But yeah, I think that's the benefit of that film, because you don't need a lot of like dialogue to portray those emotions. I think honestly that's a big part of Cate Blanchett. I think
Yeah.
I think she does a fantastic performance.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett's performance in this is so good. She could have easily like gone, or with a lot of actors, you could have very easily gone too over the top with this character. You could have been too like if you have an overly charismatic actor, they could come across as like really like an asshole. And she does come across as an asshole at times, but she does retain this semblance of like, I guess, relatability to her.
Yeah.
That allows you to connect with the character.
Yeah, I think a big part is when you said like a lot of actors could take this and make it kind of like a showy performance. I think that's what the genius, honestly, of Kate Blanchett is that it's, you know, there's not very many scenes where like she breaks down.
Right.
Where I think a lot of actors could easily have this, in this role, could easily just be like, you know, there could be a shot of them like sitting at their desk like, and then just swipe everything off. But this is like, it's a lot more reserved and a lot more like you see her anger throughout like her body motions more than like, or not body motions, but a lot more of a, like in her face and in her body language than she is in like, you know, swiping stuff off desks and everything. So
another thing I like about this movie that I appreciate in movies is how holistic it feels. It's everything, like you really get the sense that like, I don't know who wrote it, I believe Todd Fields?
Yeah, Todd Fields wrote and directed this, yeah.
Todd Fields, you really get the sense that he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he knows what the hell he's talking about. I know nothing about that world, but you certainly feel like everything has been developed to its fullest.
Yeah. I think like when you said it feels holistic, I kind of went I don't know if this was how you're thinking of it, but it definitely feels like a lived-in world as well. Like I remember reading a lot of people coming out of this film and was like, "Oh, wait, is Lydia Tarr a real person?" And I
came out like that.
Yeah, I think like that is definitely credit to Todd Fields of like, he made this movie where it's like, this could really have happened and this could have been more of a biopic than an actual like just a fiction film. But I do want to, I know we were talking about the holistic world, but I do really want to talk about that long take that's like right like at the 30-minute mark where she's teaching the class.
Yeah.
I think that is probably my favorite scene from this film because it's so fluid and you don't even realize that it's all one take.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
You know what else I didn't realize? I know we're short on time, but there's no score to this movie. It's like there's music, and because it's a very music-centric movie, they can't really put in a score.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no like traditional like score to the film. It's all like diegetic.
Yeah, I will admit I definitely booted up Spotify and listened to the symphony that she's conducting.
Yeah.
Throughout the film. But any other comments that you want to add about Tar?
The only thing I'll say is like I don't understand. I'm not saying it's a bad decision, but I don't understand the like trap beat at the end. Remember that?
The trap beat?
Like the hip hop beat. I don't know what genre it is.
I mean,
it's in the credits.
I honestly don't remember it. But,
oh, okay.
But I don't know. So I'll have to rewatch it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for being on this episode. And we'll go to the next guest right now. So my next guest for this episode is Will. So Will, what was your favorite film of 2022?
2022 was an interesting year for film and cinema at large. And I'd like to start with a quick little analogy. There were a multitude of Pinocchio films released this year.
Yes, there was.
There was the European Pinocchio, the CGI production,
Yes.
widely lambasted for poor production quality, interesting story decisions and whatnot. There was the Disney live-action Pinocchio movie.
That was bad.
Starring Tom Hanks himself doing a cheesy accent and CGI Pinocchio again. And then there was the Guillermo del Toro one, which is widely considered pretty good. But I'm here today to tell you that the best Pinocchio movie of 2022 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, by far.
I am Puss in Boots.
All right.
And
So-
it features Pinocchio for about 5 seconds, although Jiminy Cricket does have a large part in the movie.
So you're saying that Puss in Boots 2 is a Pinocchio film?
It is the best Pinocchio film of 2022.
So why was it your favorite and the best Pinocchio film of 2022?
It surprised me because I enjoy Puss in Boots the character, and I think that the first film was fun. It was good. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this looks like it's going to be Puss in Boots, more Puss in Boots with Spider-Verse animation, right?
Yeah.
And so I get the boys, I get the lads, I get the fellas together. There's 3 of us, and we go see it at the theaters, and we sit down. And then within the first 5 minutes, there is an Attack on Titan style fight with a troll, and Puss in Boots is freaking flying around.
I haven't seen this film yet, so this is very interesting to me.
At that moment, we all looked at each other, and we knew that this was going to be a fun movie.
Okay.
After Puss in Boots takes down the troll, which is, that first fight is really cool, just visually, whatever, and it establishes Puss in Boots as at the top of his game. He's a hero, he's to be feared, whatever, and he's just top shit. But then he gets crushed by a giant bell, completely by accident, and he dies.
Oh.
And you know how cats have 9 lives.
Yes.
And he wakes up and he's in the ward, he's in the hospital, and the doctor's like, Puss, you used your other 8 lives, you're on your 9th and last life. And now Puss in Boots is freaking out. His entire veneer, his facade of being Puss in Boots, fearless hero, is collapsing because he can't do fearless things anymore, because if he messes up, he dies. And so his last hope is he knows that there's a wishing star that's crashed to Earth. And so he embarks on an epic quest to go get this shooting star. On the way, he gets chased by the embodiment of death. Death beats him up and is like, Puss in Boots, you wasted your time with your other 8 lives. What are you doing with your last life? You're chasing more lives. You're still doing the same old shtick. You're vain. You're self-centered. This is horrible. He psychoanalyzes Puss in Boots to death, and Puss gets absolutely beaten by death. And then he meets up with some old friends and whatnot, and he fights John Mulaney as some random fairy tale creature that you don't really get or care, but he's funny. Goldilocks and the 3 bears show up, and he has like a love interest and a little dog friend. And along the way, he realizes that, maybe it's not about being immortal. Maybe it should be about living life to the fullest with whatever you've got. And he puts his life on the line to rescue Kitty Softpaws and his little dog friend, and he faces death for the final time. In this, the first fight's insane. This final fight with death is even cooler. And he faces death, and he fights him to a standstill. And death goes up to Puss, and he goes, Gato, I came here to take the life of a vain, ignorant hero. I don't see him anymore. Live your life, Puss in Boots.
All right.
Live it well. And it's so, it's a goofy movie, and then it goes that hard with themes of life and death and what to do with the time you're given and how to treat family and loved ones and whatnot. And it impressed me. beyond any expectation I ever had for it, and that's why it's my favorite movie. And it beat the Pinocchio movies.
I mean, yeah, I am definitely looking forward to watching it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Shrek and Puss in Boots, so I know, I've heard of that, and so yeah, I'm really excited. I'm glad that it's your favorite film of 2022.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it will be for my viewing. Awesome. But yeah, I want to thank you for being on, and we'll go to our next guest. All right, so my next guest is Zach. So Zach, what was your favorite film of 2022?
Well, I'm gonna have to say The Adam Project.
How'd you get to be so smart?
How'd you get to be so dumb?
Nice try.
So why was The Adam Project your favorite film of 2022?
Well, Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
I mean that's the first thing. I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. He's a great actor, and he definitely is very passionate whenever he does something. And I think in this case it worked really well, and he did a great job. Honestly, all of the acting choices, all the actors that they chose was really, really good. Some strong people, even because people always talk about, oh, kid actors are terrible, and it's always a problem. But the kid that played in the movie, it's time travel, and the kid is playing a young, I don't even remember Ryan Reynolds' character, but so Ryan Reynolds.
He's young Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he's young Ryan Reynolds, and he does a really good job of portraying him and acting like him. They act very similarly, and it's very fun to watch.
Yeah.
I really think that some of the best scenes of the movie are their interactions alone, because they're very funny, they're very energetic. But so all of the actors, his love interest, she did a great job. Mark Ruffalo's in it.
Mark Ruffalo is probably my favorite part of this film.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely wasn't like the biggest fan of this film, but I really enjoyed Mark Ruffalo. And as you said with the kid actor, I think like it's perfect with him and Ryan Reynolds like paired together.
Right. No, all the actors worked really, really well together. Like there was even a specific moment that really pops up for me is in this scene. The girl, she like sacrifices herself. The time people are coming after them, and the kid and Ryan Reynolds have to escape. So they're the shot is there's a camera that's looking at the side view mirror of the car, and it's just Ryan Reynolds driving, and it's a really nice just like anger moment where he gets really upset because he just lost a woman that he loves.
Yeah.
So he does a really good job in playing just a realistic anger and sadness, and now it's just, even though it's a quick moment, it was really cool and really fun to see. But I love the action. The action I felt worked pretty well. I remember I was talking to someone and they said they didn't really like it, but I thought the action was really well done. The choreography was really good.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about at least the action that I really, I mean, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of this film, but I did enjoy some aspects of it. And I think one of the aspects that I really enjoyed was the action sequences. I think it had some, and also like the futuristic weapons they used. I think that was a really interesting, like, it shies away a lot from like oh look, we got a futuristic big bolt gun, and it's like it kind of goes in there, but at the same time it also like
there's a point where Ryan Reynolds basically pulls out it's like Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber, and it's just really fun action. Like it's not for me, it's not a movie that like you go see and you're in tears, and it's beautiful filmmaking. It's one of those movies where you put on and you're sitting there with your buddy and you can just have a fun time enjoying a fun time travel action movie.
Yeah, and that's why this episode isn't called the best of 2022. This is our favorite films of 2022.
I mean, there was, I'm personally a crier whenever it comes to movies and TV. Anything sad or emotional happens, I'm sitting there with my tissues, I'm super sad. So like there was a moment where it was after everything that had happened, and the kid is back with his mom, and throughout the whole movie, every time he interacts with his mom, he's an asshole. He's very much, not giving her any sort of respect. He's cracking jokes, and he's doing all of this. But
he's being a preteen kid.
Exactly.
Basically,
Yeah, he's doing that. He's doing exactly that. And then the end of the movie happens, and he's there with his mom, and he's reliving this moment, and he chooses to, he like chooses to give her a hug, and he just says like, "I love you," and I was like,
yeah,
oh.
That's definitely one of those ones that's like, even though it's not like this grand epic movie, it's like just those small little moments.
Those small moments,
hits you.
Yeah, they definitely do. And like the ending where it's everyone's kind of together, and both versions of Ryan Reynolds get to say goodbye to their dad, and it's just.
Don't they play catch?
Yeah, well? they play catch, and that's such a good moment, and I just remember just loving that. And like I said, I'm a crier, so of course I was sitting there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, it has its moments for me, so I definitely think it's a fun film to go check out.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else you want to add before?
No, I just
on to the next person.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this. So we'll be going on to our next guest right now. So my next guest is JC.
How's it going?
How are you?
Doing well.
That's good. So what was your favorite film of 2022?
It was Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Stand still and die!
For a guy named Knuckles, you are really bad at punching.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to, when people ask, like, what's your favorite, like, a lot of people think, like, they think, like, maybe a lot of times, like, the best is, like, their favorite. Yeah. I personally don't think Sonic 2 is the best film of 2022. Let's get that out of the way. Mm-hmm. But it's my personal favorite film of 2022 due to my attachment to the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
Yeah.
Because, like, I definitely I'm definitely a person who values like emotional impact a film gives me rather than like the objective quality of it. Which isn't to say like, the other way, like valuing the objective quality is like, isn't important, because it is. But Sonic 2 is overall my favorite film in 2022, simply because, like I said, I'm a huge Sonic fan. I've been a Sonic fan since I was 8 years old, and really it's just really kind of thinking about like the journey coming to the release of Sonic 2, because if like a lot of people, if you don't know, if you're not really into Sonic games, you wouldn't know that that Sonic has had like rough like years in terms of like the quality of the franchise, in terms of like video games. Like for like a couple years there was just
Sonic 06 is not the high point of a franchise.
Exactly. It's like whenever we would like go back up, we would just go like down. It's like one step forward, two steps back with the Sonic franchise. And so with the first Sonic film, it was like really of course you had that terrible design. Yeah. That terrible design, but it eventually, but like, I feel like what really like started to get like what really like gave people goodwill about Sonic game was the fact that they listened to the fans and redesigned it. Mm-hmm. And like Sonic 1 was a success, not the best film, but it was overall.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I definitely probably enjoyed it more than the second one.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think Sonic movie was good. And so
yeah, and so they definitely wanted to. So with Sonic 1, you can definitely like get the criticism about like it being like a generic kids film, like like something to think of like Alvin and the Chipmunks, like that kind of like standard format. But with Sonic 2, they take the training wheels off, and while you still have some of the stuff, some of the like generic kids like kids jokes like juvenile humor, overall it's more focused on like bringing in the Sonic like lore, bringing in the Sonic like more characters in. In the first film, it was about like just Sonic and Eggman and a bunch of like new characters. But in this film, they bring in Tails, they bring in Knuckles, two of the most important characters of the franchise. They bring in spoilers, okay?
Yeah, spoilers are fine.
Yeah. They bring in, and of course, by the end of the film, we get the Chaos Emeralds, and they bring in Super Sonic, something that's like something that's like very important to like the franchise. Yeah. And what really makes me happy about the film is like how much they respect the material. They don't try to like go like realistic for it. They try to really appeal. They know that they want to appeal to Sonic fans more than they want to appeal for just like general audiences.
I think if you appeal to the Sonic fans first, you'll get those more audience, because then you get the Sonic fans and then they'll go out and be like, this is a great movie, and then other people will go out, and especially since it is, I mean, you say it's not really a kids movie, but it still is kind of a kids movie. So you get those, and you get the Sonic fans if you stay loyal to it. So
like it's still a kids movie. Like, you know, I'm definitely happy. I'm very excited for like all the kids who got into Sonic through these movies. Definitely well deserved. But like, you know, definitely it just like, you know, it knows like, you know, when to balance out like, you know, okay, this is a kids movie. We're trying to also appeal to like, you know, kids who may not be familiar, but this is also like a movie we want to appeal to the actual fans of the franchise. Definitely. And another thing that I like definitely really just made me happy was like the treatment of the voice cast, because like, you know, as we know that like Hollywood has this like rough like, you know, this rough way of like treating like, you know, voice actors who are like, you know, actual voice actors. They often get celebrity voice actors, but with the Sonic films they got like, well, Ben Schwartz, the voice of Sonic in this movie, he isn't the voice of Sonic in the video games or any of the cartoons. He's still an actual voice actor. He does like tons of like, you know, other projects. And then like, you know, of course they bring in Tails. They keep Tails voice actors from the games, and they even put her on the poster, which is something that you just don't see with like, you know, actual voice actor, which made me impressed.
I mean, you can look at the Mario movie. They're putting Chris Pratt and Charlie Day and not the actual voice actors. So
And exactly, and then lastly, like Idris Elba, just like he's my favorite voice for Knuckles now, which is definitely like, you know, definitely incredible. And like they focus more so rather than just gaining celebrity, they focus on who was right for this version of the character. Like, you know, while they may have not gotten Sonic and Knuckles like game voice actors, they did get like, you know, they felt like these actors, there's a priority saying like these actors were right for the role. And when like, you know, Tails, their version of Tails, they're like, well, the voice actress for Tails in the games is right for the role. So that's definitely why I absolutely loved Sonic 2, and definitely my favorite film of 2022. I'll be back here in 2025 once Sonic 3 comes out. And it's my favorite film of 2024.
Well, definitely I hope the show is around for a few years, so I can definitely have you back and talk about Sonic 3.
Exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much for telling us your favorite film of 2022. Hope to have you on later.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. We'll get to the next person right now. All right, so my next guest is Luke. So, Luke, what was your favorite film of 2022?
Well, my favorite film was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Don't let anything distract you from it.
All right, so why was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once your favorite film of 2022?
I think there's a variety of reasons. First of all, it did everything. The title is not a lie. It is doing quite literally everything, everywhere, all at once. It's a comedy, it's an action movie, it's a drama, and it excels at every single one of those things without fail almost the entire film. Sure, there are some jokes I don't laugh at as much as others, but there's never a joke that I'm offended at, nor is there a joke that I don't at least find slightly funny. If it was just a comedy, it would be pretty good. But I think where it really comes together is the second half of the film, where the drama element really kicks into gear, and it becomes this. The whole thing is this entire journey, but by the end, it really starts to culminate. And I don't want to give away anything, but
you can spoil.
Oh,
yeah. This is a spoiler episode.
Okay, well, I don't know how I spoil it because there's
so
much going on.
It is a very hard film to spoil, but
obviously you have the marriage between Waymond and Michelle Yeoh's character, Evelyn, and that is falling apart, and that is just a very central. The family is the central kind of framework of the film, but you also have the daughter-mother dynamic, which is wonderful. But Waymond.
There's a lot of dynamics that like work really well. I think
and Evelyn and her own father.
Evelyn and her father.
And there's like
Evelyn and Waymond.
Certain like kind of parallels between how he treats her and she treats her daughter. But yeah, I think I was rewatching that scene, Waymond's speech, "We have to be kind," and I just started crying my eyes out yet again. It's like
that is one of those scenes that come around every once in a while, and it's just like it just hits hard.
Yeah.
That you're like.
That's one of like 10 scenes that do the same thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
it's like the whole movie is like that, you know?
Yeah.
The whole second half, I should say. The first part is not as you're not going to cry as much during the first half, but you're going to be laughing a lot.
The first part is definitely a lot more like kind of exposition and like, oh, this is how everything works, and then it's like once you get past that, it's like here's the fun part. And I think when you brought up the kind of the scenes that are very have that emotional hit, it is weird to say that a movie in 2022 where a scene that just rocks are speaking in subtitles is very emotional.
What's so interesting is like those scenes are very funny too, but you're not laughing, you're still crying because it's like the hot dog fingers. You have Evelyn and Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know why I'm blanking on all their names right now, but Jamie Lee Curtis's character, they're in love, but they got these stupid hot dog fingers. And you don't even care about that anymore. It's still funny because they're playing the piano with their feet.
Yeah,
it's like, oh man.
I think this film definitely blends the drama and the comedy very well together, and also, like you said, the action. And there's a cartoon scene in like I think it's hand drawn.
Yeah,
like,
well,
in like crayons. It's
and
like
see earlier in the movie, we see that's like one of Joy's drawings.
Yeah.
There's so many little details like that. One of my favorites that I picked up on the fourth watch officially. I think I noticed it on the third, but the fourth one I've seen this movie 5 times. So was part 1. You know, you have the it's the same shot like part 1, part 2, part 3 when they have the title card. You have the bags in the back, and you'll notice that part 1 there's 1 bag with googly eyes. Part 2 there's 2, and part 3 there's 3. It's just like they guaranteed thought no one would notice that, but they still did it anyway because they cared.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
This is definitely a film that is very carefully crafted, and even in like the special effects. I mean, you have those funny moments where it's like, oh, here's them just on Zoom doing the actual like.
Oh yeah, during the scream scene.
During the scream scene, but then there's like the beautiful like hand-drawn scream, and then you get like just
Twin Peaks. There's a Twin Peaks one. I don't care about the I Love Tennis. I Love Tennis is great though.
I think
but the Twin Peaks
one. I Love Tennis one is probably my favorite just because it's just. It's not even her. It's like
no. What even is that?
Yeah, it's just like it's a guy that like looks like it's AI generated. So,
but Twin Peaks.
Yeah, Twin Peaks, I guess. But I love the I Love Tennis one very much. But like I said, it's very well crafted, and it shows in both in the visual effects and like the directing and all and the editing. And
really
everything.
Quick, I do want to mention because I don't think I said this at all. I did mention that it is also an action movie, but the action is some of the best probably of last year.
Oh yeah.
So just really quick, it is just like I said, it excels at everything it does, and that's just so cool.
Yeah. So any other small little things you want to say about this?
Not really. I feel like a lot of people have seen it, but if you haven't, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Please watch it. It's going to be the greatest experience of your life.
All right. Thanks for being on this episode. And we'll go to our next guest. All right, so my next guest is Lachlan. So what was your favorite film of 2022?
My favorite film of 2022 was Bullet Train.
I gotta get off this train. Sorry, buddy. Exclusively in movie theaters.
So why was Bullet Train your favorite film of 2022?
It was just very refreshing. It was a refreshing film to watch, and I especially like the director. I forgot his name, but I liked his previous works before and his specific comic style of filming. So that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's based off a book, I think. So it definitely there was, I don't know if it's a comic book, but it definitely feels very comic-y, especially with like the splashes when they introduce the characters and everything. So like, what was your favorite character? I want to wonder because I have one that I think is the best character, and it's always different between a lot of people. So what was your favorite character?
Well, to mention, but I especially liked the splashes, and I really liked the Japanese titling in it because I studied Japanese, and so it was really nice to see all that. So I was just wondering how they were going to incorporate that Japanese style, since bullet trains are known in Japan.
Yeah.
My favorite character was Tangerine.
Tangerine. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just a sucker for Ladybug. I know it's like the basic answer of like, oh look, it's the main character, but I really liked Brad Pitt's performance in it, even though it's not like the greatest performance, but yeah. So what'd you like about Tangerine?
I love the actor. The actor I like a lot. He was in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So I recognized him immediately. I liked his character especially because it was like an arrogant character, but with redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
And it was there's a lot to like about him.
I like the dynamic between both Lemon and Tangerine. I think them two are perfect together. But yeah, so like anything else that you really enjoyed about Bullet Train?
I really liked the rated R aspects because I was just nervous about watching it because I didn't know if it was just going to be like PG-13 stuff, which is kind of boring.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially those like R-rated, like fun, the fun comedy action films. They can kind of go one way or the other, especially if it's rated R, rated PG-13.
Yeah, and it's like Bullet Train's a nice break from Marvel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anything else that stands out to you? Why it's your favorite film of 2022?
I really like the use of colors in it. I'm a big visual art. There's this one scene where the lighting is like blue and pink, and I thought it was just absolutely gorgeous because the color combo was very strange, but it added on to that comic style.
Yeah.
But one thing I do wish the film had was more Japanese aspects to it.
I was really worried. I was waiting for you to be like, it needed more Bad Bunny. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about Bad Bunny, but yeah.
The one character, the Elder, I think that's his name. I really liked his acting and performance, especially, and how it clashed with Ladybug. Yeah. And how that one scene where it's just like, let me tell you a story, and Ladybug's like, no, I'm good. Yeah. That was my favorite part because I like how the Japanese is really big on like, what is it, metaphors? Like metaphors being like wisdom, all that stuff. And Ladybug was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, he was like, no, I'm good. Well, he wasn't even meant to be there. That's like I think the funniest part of the film is that it's like, oh yeah, he wasn't supposed to be there. It was actually Ryan Reynolds for some reason. Like I was like, all right, but yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's all.
All right, thank you so much for joining me for this. So we'll go on to our next guest, and it'll be right now. All right, so our next guest is Brian. Brian, what was your favorite film of 2022?
My favorite film of 2022 was, I didn't see a lot of movies in 2022, but the movie I did see that was pretty decent, I guess, Top Gun wasn't too bad.
Jeez! Having any fun yet?
Top Gun Maverick?
Top Gun.
All right. Why was it one of your favorite films of 2022?
I think Top Gun was a really good movie to see in theater. Similar to like Avatar. Like, it's a movie that you want to go see on the big screen because it's not going to be the same at home on the, or even on the phone.
Yeah. Is there any like scene in particular that you were like, this needs to be seen on a big screen?
I think, now that you say that, I think that I can think of a couple scenes of that.
Yeah. Because I have one, and I want to see if you think the same.
I think basically any scene where they're flying.
Yeah.
I think that's really all that you really just if because of the flying in general, it made the movie probably it's that much more immersive.
Mm-hmm. I think there was the one scene when they're going to fly into the canyon, and it's Tom Cruise, and he's sitting there, and you have the camera like pointed directly at him, and then you see the two come in, and then you see the one come in from behind. I'm like, that is a scene that you have to see in theaters because it is just so.
You can see it on both ends of the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Because I know the story behind using Top Gun.
You know, I'm a little ashamed to admit this. But I actually didn't know that it was a sequel until after the movie. I went there with a buddy, and after the movie I'm like, why do they have like these random characters and not explain them at all? And he's like, it's a sequel. They were in the first one. I'm sitting there watching this movie thinking it's a whole standalone movie. There's like a guy, you know, sick, and there's like a thing at the end, you know, in memoriam. Like, I didn't know that these things were all connected to the first film. And I didn't even know that that first film, let alone came out in like the 80s or whatever. That's just pretty crazy.
Do you think, even though you hadn't seen the first one, this one worked like on its own? Like, did you still enjoy yourself? I mean, it is technically one of your favorites of 2022.
You know what? It's just like, it's a spectacle.
Yeah.
So put it in the same category as Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spectacle. You're going to see something crazy that someone paid millions and millions of dollars to just, you know, throw at a big screen. It's really a statement of filmmaking right now, and how our capabilities technologically, and where, you know, the pockets are of the big companies are. They're trying to make big spectacles at the theaters to draw people because the streaming services are putting up a fight, and that's what they're doing.
All right. Any other? I know you said that this was your favorite film of 2022, but you also have a favorite short film. You said. Do you know the name of it? I should ask.
Well, actually, I don't know the name of it, but I saw this one film at the Toronto International Film Festival 2022 that was pretty interesting. It was a short film in the shorts category, which is basically a category program where they show off films that are ranging from several minutes to 10 minutes, but the whole, you know, showing is still an hour. Anyway, the film was an entire AI generated film. So my favorite film actually was an AI generated film from the Toronto International Film Festival.
But Top Gun Maverick was your favorite, like, theatrical film, is what you're saying. You know what? Yeah.
It was alright. Yeah. I didn't. Well, given that I didn't really see any other movies.
Yeah, kind of.
So.
But I mean, it's still a good one to go see.
When it's in competition with nothing else, it's
the automatic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still good. Still good. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll go on to the next guest. All right. So my final guest for this episode is Ryan. Ryan, what was your favorite film of 2022?
My favorite film of 2022 was The Fallout.
The shoulders. You can't do it without the shoulders.
Ooh, yeah. I could lie, say I like it like that, like it like.
All right, so why was The Fallout your favorite film of 2022?
So I think it was honestly kind of just the time that I watched it at, because came out at the end of January, and usually nothing good ever comes out in January.
Yeah, it's Dumpy-wary.
like ever. And then so just living at my home, it was just me and my brother and his fiance at the time, and parents were in Florida, and so I kind of just got like, you know, the whole living room to myself, and I just immersed myself in. And for those of you who don't know what The Fallout is about, I'll just keep it brief, but it's about a group of kids that survive a tragedy. I won't go into specifics on it because it is pretty...
I mean, I think it's in the trailer. I think we can say it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
they do survive a school shooting, so obviously dealing with very heavy and dramatic stuff. And you would think that since it is so heavy, that they would find so many ways to mess it up. But it's kind of done almost perfectly because it's handled with that maturity. And it's just seeing, obviously, like the main focus is Jenna Ortega in the movie, and she's kind of like the main character that we follow.
Sorry, just on a side change. Jenna Ortega had a great year. Then
she really did.
So, but yeah, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. But it's just her and then a few of her other friends, and it's just them dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to call it like a slice of life, but it has aspects of slice of life, but just dealing with the heavy burden. And obviously, not too many movies deal with this subject.
Yeah.
And even the time that we live in right now, it's kind of more urgent
definitely.
and necessary that this needs to be addressed.
Looking at a lot of like these types of films that deal with this subject, there's only like 3 that really come to mind, and a lot of them are kind of like the anti, like they're not anti. I shouldn't say like anti-school shooting. Anti-school shooting is good. We do not need no more school shootings, but it's very much. There's one that I think of off the top of my head. It's Run, Hide, Fight, I think it's called, but it's like this very conservative view of school shootings. Though it's like, well, if someone had a gun, they could, protect these people, and it's like something like that is not what we really need in our film.
I think that's also why I like it, is because it doesn't tackle into the politics. It's generally, they went through this. This is how each of them are dealing with it, because one of her friends does get political, and he starts going to rallies and starts doing movements, while Jenna Ortega, on the other hand, just kind of slowly loses interest in all of her classes, starts like smoking, drinking, and it doesn't come from that adult perspective. It's all seen through their eyes. Obviously, the adults are questioning. It's like, yo, why are you feeling this way? Like, you need to get back into normal life, but obviously, like, you don't get over this.
This is something that sticks with you. I mean, I haven't seen this film, so it definitely sounds very like, from what you're describing it, it's definitely not. It's that run, hide, fight where it's more of like dealing with the stress, dealing with the PTSD of it.
Dealing with the PTSD. But then also, since it is just such a heavy subject, and they're going through this trauma, it's weird for me to say that is oddly enough a funny movie, because they deal through their trauma like through jokes.
I think that's a big. I mean, I can see that happening. A lot of people deal with trauma differently, and some people deal with trauma with comedy. So
it also helps in the lighter senses that since they are all in high school, they use the like cringy high school dialogue, but it plays in their favor, because like in the movie they still say "lol," and it's like 2022. I know but it's little stuff like that I appreciate about it. And I watched it twice, because the first night I just I didn't know what to think, because it impacted me that hard, and especially the ending, because just when you think things are getting really good and things are getting better, then just something happens where it's like, oh, this is always going to be around. But I had to watch it a second time just to make sure that what I felt was genuine, and I'm glad to say that it was.
All right. Yeah. Any last comments on the Fallout? I mean, I definitely will check this out from what you're saying about it. And I hope everyone goes and checks out all the movies that have been recommended.
Yeah, obviously,
But
check it out. I mean, it's very heavy in terms of the subject matter, but I think it's relevant and for the times. And since it did come out in January, people kind of just pushed it to the side. So please check it out.
Yeah,
it's good.
All right. I just want to thank you for being on. Thank you for being the last one.
Thank you for having me.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. Not a lot of films. There was a lot of films in 2022 that weren't mentioned in this video. Some that are off the top of my head are The Fabelmans, After Sun. X was a big movie that came out this year that a lot of people loved. But that's just kind of coming off the top of my head right now. But definitely go check out any of these movies that you haven't seen. Yeah, please subscribe to Oakland SVP. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great 2023.